So guys, this is a video for thinking about the criteria that we need to use to evaluate processes. It links to some of the other videos that we've got around for validity, reliability, and credibility, but you might want to just check out this one for a bit of an overview. This is really important for all parts of the evaluation. Having students actually think about how the research process contributed to validity, reliability, or credibility gives them a measurable set of criteria that they can then evaluate against. And this leads to a much deeper discussion than just saying it was useful because they got lots of information, or it was useful because they actually responded, and it was useful because they liked the person, which are some of the comments that come out at that lower end. So I guess what we need to be able to talk through, though, is what do these concepts actually mean? Because it's easy to say, yeah, we've got validity and reliability, but does the student actually understand what that is? So explicit teaching of these concepts is incredibly important. The way that we break it down in our context is to simplify it for the student. Students who are doing psychology or other science subjects will get a deeper understanding of this, and students are always welcome to pursue a deeper understanding. But validity, for all intents and purposes for the research evaluation, can be considered as whether it's intending what it was meant to, whether it's measuring what it intended to measure. So, the example I often give to my class is get them to fill in a test, simple, what color is the sky? Do you have any brothers or sisters? Give them a test in English, then give them the exact same test, but in a different language. So Latin is a really good one. If you've got some Latin up your sleeve, or French, or, a really, a language that they're not familiar with works best. And then ask them to fill in the test again. Obviously, most students won't be able to. And then you can ask them which one reflects their understanding of those questions more appropriately, which one is the valid measure of their ability to answer that question. And it helps to cement it pretty quickly for them. Reliability is more about representativeness, and we often test this through repetition. And students get reliability a bit more than validity, I find. For the most part, they get that a reliable person is someone you can trust, and so therefore you can then apply that to the concepts. Was the data representative of that perspective? And then we can start to look at things like bias and skewed sampling and those sorts of concepts that underpin reliability. Credibility is the easiest because, it has a face. Kids get that there is a person who is credible, or an organization who is credible, and they understand what that means for their work. So it is really important to go through these with the students, and to try to make it accessible for them in a range of ways, and to not assume that it will be possible for your students to actually employ these terms at the beginning of research project. There must be explicit teaching of the concepts here. One of the things that complicates this entire process, though, is that students are going to be using these three terms, but they are underpinned by a whole range of other criteria. So reliability can be influenced by the publication date, the bias, the authorship, all of those interrelated concepts that happen to also influence the credibility of the source. So students are being asked to do a very complex skill if you're doing this at the higher level. When we're asking them to do this, we need to equip them with the language, and we need to actually work through a whole range of scenarios with them. Doing this as a class exercise is a really nice way to help them, work through someone's peer review as a class, work through someone's website as a class, teach them the language to be using that's going to make this a much more accessible concept.